Hello everyone, welcome back. Welcome back to the Technology Innovation Hub. It's going to be the fourth session on developing generic career or achieving data career heights. Let me share the screen. I think we have been discussing this. The first slide almost finished, and yeah, this we discussed in great detail. Let's go to the second one. Yes, the very first thing is skill for a successful journey. Skill for a successful journey. Right? So, for a successful career, what are the skills that someone should develop from the early childhood? So that is what is the focus going to be. Just let's take a look at the points there. Right? The very first thing can see cognitive and learning skills. Exactly. Cognition and learning skills. The cognitive ability of a child at the early stage matters for his career when he becomes an adult. So those skills must be developed, right? So what are cognitive skills? Like, reasoning and memory, like visualization, something, right? Okay, let's discuss more detail. Right? So the second point, okay, let's take it to the. We can go to the page as well because this one itself reference, right? There's a reference for this. Before that, let's go to the points. The second one is emotional, pro-social skills and behavior. Emotional, pro-social skills and behaviors. Here's the emotional. I mean, a lot of resources, a lot of human beings. Not, I mean, all of us are emotional. Emotional is a normal thing, but when to be emotion, when not to be emotion, and controlling emotion. So that's what we need to learn because we know everybody has our EQ levels, emotions, right? EQ levels, emotional quotients. And we know emotions are transient. It's not going to last for a long time, right? But the problem is if the emotion is going to get last for a long time due to the bad relationships on the surrounding or with other people, it's going to become a mood. Emotions will change to mood. So moods are going to long last. Right? Anyway, let's discuss those things. But emotions, we have to get control before it's becoming a mood, in double body mood, right? And let's discuss those things. And language and communication skills, that means that you know, right, and the character, strength, the personality. Right, so let's get into that link there. So the reference is this, right? It is again from 6th page. You can see skills for success. Whether we are 5-year-old, 50, or our potentials to thrive depends on a complex and interdependent set of skills or capabilities that we can read that, but the main focus will be here, cognition, character, and conduct. Now, the very first point, you can see the explanation is there. You can go through it again. This will be the major focus, the first one, cognition and learning skills. You can see, as I explained, the ability to focus attention, deter our distractions, prioritize in tasks and goals, follow instructions and demonstrate, abstract, reasoning, memory, visualization, so under cognition. Emotional pro skills, you can see emotional pro social skills and behaviors. So these are the things which I just explained again, you can see, but here empathy, adaptability, impulse control, right, and the ability to form strong attachments with parents and peers, emotional and social competencies, right, are critical and academic success. Exactly, right, because empirical understanding is very important. Empirical understanding. You should learn to give and take. Give and take means you need to tolerate others because we know when an expression or idea is expressed by another person, as per him, it is correct. But on the other side, for us, it may appear as a wrong understanding, but for him is correct. So we need to understand, we need to get the empirical understanding between two so that the matter can be sorted out rather than becoming emotional. So likewise, so again, the language and communication skills, right? We saw the diagram, the language, that's one of the very first early development abilities. A child, yeah, we have command of self-expression, comprehension, vocabulary, yeah, predictors, academic success, exactly. So just go to those things, then characteristics. Perseverance and self-confidence, you can see personality, responsibility. So we have the intrapersonal skills, right, which is comes here, right, not intra, right. So mainly there are four things. It is discussed in this document as well. So you can just go through that one. In brief, I hope you got the idea. As a whole, from the early childhood, these skills must be developed. So how it can be done? That's the other thing, how it can be done. So I have another video for that. For example, let's take a look at the serve and return interaction saves the brain circuits. This is one method, right, at the early stage, right? Let's go there. That is again a video from, you can see it is again from Center on Developing Child, Harvard University, right? So just watch it carefully. It's a fairly short video. Okay. Let me play it for you. Yeah, just watch it carefully.
The key to forming strong brain architecture is what's known as serve and return interaction with adults. In this developmental game, new neural connections form in the brain as young children instinctively serve through babbling, facial expressions, and gestures. And adults return the serve, responding in a very directed, meaningful way. It starts very early in life, when a baby coos and the adult interacts and directs the baby's attention to a face or hand. This interaction forms the foundation of brain architecture upon which all future development will be built. It helps create neural connections between all the different areas of the brain, building the emotional and cognitive skills children need in life. For example, here's how it works for literacy and language skills. When the baby sees an object, the adult says its name. This makes connections in the baby's brain between particular sounds and their corresponding objects. Later, adults show young children that those objects and sounds can also be represented by marks on a page. With continued support from adults, children then learn how to decipher writing and eventually to write themselves. Each stage builds on what came before. Ensuring that children have adult caregivers who consistently engage in serve and return interaction, beginning in infancy, builds a foundation in the brain for all the learning, behavior, and health that follow.
All right, so that's explained, right? So, and let's continue to the next one. Right, so again, let's watch, I think, key features of early brain development. But before coming to that, I think there's another visual we have, how early childhood experiences affect lifelong health and learning. So this is another thing, right? How early childhood experiences affect lifelong health and learning. Right? The evidences are there. Some, I mean, chronic diseases like, the things which are not getting, right? Like diabetics and blood pressure and those things, right? And researchers are telling that one of the reasons the behaviors or the adaptation did in the early childhood, the reasons are that. So there are evidence given, right? Anyway, let's take a look at it, right? Let's take a look at this video and it will explain perfectly. It is from this place. Yeah, that is how early childhood experiences affect lifelong health and learning, right? It's from Center on Developing Child at, again, Harvard University. So let's watch that very carefully, watch it and try to grab what is being explained, right? So let me play this. I think yes, this one. Okay.
The early childhood brain development story has been a powerful influence on the growth of investments in programs to promote early learning and enhance school readiness. But the brain does not exist by itself. Connecting the brain to the rest of the body is critically important. Early childhood experiences are as much about lifelong physical and mental health as they are about early learning and readiness to succeed in school. All biological systems, all of them are highly interconnected, and all of these systems are primed to adapt to whatever the environment would throw at us. Think about this as a team of highly skilled athletes. Each has a role to play, but they depend upon each other. They influence each other's responses. Like any good team, it's how they operate together that is the key to their success. When we are stressed, every cell in the body is working overtime. The brain is the master control system that detects threat and then manages the response of all of the different systems. It sends signals to the cardiovascular system to increase heart rate and blood pressure. Signals are picked up by metabolic systems to increase the availability of blood sugar to provide more energy stores for the body. The immune system is activated to be on alert for the possibility of a wound or the need to protect against infection. The neuroendocrine system is activated to increase levels of stress hormones in the bloodstream. All of these also provide feedback to the brain. The stress response system was designed to deal with an acute threat or challenge. But when the stress continues at a very high level, then these biological responses actually start to have a wear and tear effect on the body. This is where stress explains chronic disease. The science is really clear. The most costly chronic diseases in our society have their roots in early childhood. Cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and depression, 3 of many diseases that are associated with greater adversity early in life. Those 3 diseases together consume more than $600 billion of healthcare costs a year. So if we want to think about preventing disease and promoting health, it doesn't begin with exercising more and eating better when you're 30 or 40 years old. Health promotion and preventing disease begins prenatally, and it extends into the early childhood period. Connecting the brain to the rest of the body has very important implications for early childhood policy. If we look at the basic science-based principles focused on early learning, strengthening relationships, building skills, reducing sources of stress, those are the same principles that increase the likelihood for lifelong physical and mental health. And when we think about the major sources of adversity early in life, we talk about poverty, discrimination, exposure to violence, maltreatment, child abuse, and neglect. Although each of these sources of adversity differ from each other, biologically, the effect on the body is the same. Systemic racism, the dangers of implicit bias, and everyday discrimination impose a level of stress and adversity on families of color raising children that is present all the time. It's never too late to make things better, and we are biologically prepared to adapt to whatever environment we live in. But we need to look upstream at more systemic issues that are the sources of this enormous burden of threat and hardship. We have to connect policies and resource allocations from the educational sector and the health sector and the human services sector. Pediatric primary care is the one domain where almost all children are seen from birth on and provides a critical opportunity for engagement with families and developing relationships, promoting healthy development, and is the ideal frontline opportunity to connect families to needed services as early as possible when they can be most effective. Pediatrics alone is not going to provide all of the supports that many families need. The opportunity is to move away from asking, how do we connect pediatric primary care to early childhood programs? And in a different way, change our mindset to say, how do we build a new early childhood ecosystem in which pediatrics is an integrated part? The brain development story has been a powerful influence. The same principles, the same concepts are also affecting the early foundations of physical and mental health that will last for a lifetime.
All right, so hope you got the idea, right? So you can see the root as per the explanation. It goes for the prenatal, right? Not even after birth, it goes for the prenatal. So it starts from mother, okay? So that's why, I mean, we need to, mother has a role to play, and again, we need to support her, right? And there's an environment, a positive and proper environment for her to continue the journey, right? Likewise, because the nature expects, we know, the love and kindness, right? Not the busyness, okay? So things were well explained. I mean, the relationships and the cognitive development, environment factors, everything comes together from the early childhood, then a lot of these chronic diseases can be wiped out. So that's what the explanation was in summary. Next, we have toxic stress derails health. Yeah, toxic stress derails health development, right? So this is about stress, right? So how is derails healthy development? You know, health factor deteriorates if the stress continues to go, and it affects from the early childhood, right? Okay, let's take a look at that one as well, right? Let's go there. It's from again, yeah, it's a small one. Let's take a look at it again from the same YouTube channel, Center on Developing Child, Harvard University. Right, let me play that one through. Yes, just listen carefully.
Learning to deal with stress is an important part of healthy development. When experiencing stress, the stress response system is activated. The body and brain go on alert. There's an adrenaline rush, increased heart rate, and an increase in stress hormone levels. When the stress is relieved after a short time, or a young child receives support from caring adults, the stress response winds down and the body quickly returns to normal. In severe situations, such as ongoing abuse and neglect, where there is no caring adult to act as a buffer against the stress response stays activated. Even when there is no apparent physical harm, the extended absence of response from adults can activate the stress response system. Constant activation of the stress response overloads developing systems, with serious lifelong consequences for the child. This is known as toxic stress. Over time, this results in a stress response system set permanently on high alert. In the areas of the brain dedicated to learning and reasoning, the neural connections that comprise brain architecture are weaker and fewer in number. Science shows that the prolonged activation of stress hormones in early childhood can actually reduce neural connections in these important areas of the brain at just the time when they should be growing new ones. Toxic stress can be avoided if we ensure that the environments in which children grow and develop are nurturing, stable, and engaging.
The environment, nurturing, engaging, right? So very clearly well explained. So that's why we need to manage the toxic body. I mean, we should not have it from the early childhood development. It should be controlled so that, I mean, how can we have a better career if those things are going to come into play? So, I mean, stress, we know, so it has to be managed properly. So anyway, so if it is being taught to the brain from the early childhood, so it will be managed properly. So that's what it says. It affects the circuitry level in the brain. So let's stop here and let me continue in the next session. Otherwise, it's dragging for too long this session. Yeah, I'll meet you soon. Okay, have a great time. Bye bye.